The train rattled through the night like a living heartbeat, its lights flickering against the rain-streaked windows. She sat alone in the corner, draped in a silk dress that shimmered under the harsh fluorescent lights, her head leaning against the glass. The world outside was a blur, and the gentle rocking of the carriage soon carried her into a deep, unguarded sleep. She looked fragile, like a delicate bird who had lost its way in the city's relentless storm. No one noticed her at first, city commuters lost in their own worlds, scrolling phones, burying themselves in earbuds, indifferent to the lives passing by. But then he stepped into the carriage, a man whose quiet presence seemed to command attention without effort. His eyes scanned the train car instinctively, and when they landed on her, something inside him shifted. It wasn't just the silk dress glinting softly in the light, nor the way she clutched her purse tightly to her chest, even in slumber. It was the vulnerability, the innocence of someone entirely unguarded in a world that rarely offered safety. As he approached, he noticed the exhaustion etched on her face, the faint trace of tears in the corner of her eyes. Something about this moment, fleeting and fragile, demanded care. And in that instant, he made a silent vow. He would see that she reached home safely, no matter what it took. If you believe in kindness and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. The train moved on, winding through dimly lit tunnels and rain-slicked streets. He watched her breathe evenly, each inhale a delicate whisper, each exhale a sigh heavy with unseen burdens. The world outside the carriage seemed chaotic, violent even, but within these walls he felt a quiet determination rise in him. He reached gently for her hand to make sure it wasn't cold, and when she stirred, he offered a warm, silent presence, never letting her feel alone in the dark carriage. Hours seemed to stretch endlessly. Each stop was a potential risk, a chance that she could be lost to the night. Yet he remained steadfast, guiding her slowly but surely through the crowded platforms, shielding her from unwanted attention, navigating the labyrinthine streets that led to her home. Along the way, he glimpsed fragments of her life, an apartment door ajar, a note hastily scrawled, the faint smell of perfume that hinted at a recent celebration, now turned somber by exhaustion. He saw the weight she carried, silently, invisibly, and it spurred him forward, a guardian in the quiet chaos of the city. She awoke only briefly during the journey, her eyes fluttering open to meet his, and for a moment panic clouded her gaze. But there was no threat in his face, only quiet assurance. He whispered soft directions, guiding her like a lighthouse guiding a lost ship. Her trust, fragile and cautious, began to take root. The city outside was dark and unforgiving, but within the small space between them, a fragile safety grew, like a warm ember against the chill. He noticed her hesitation as they exited the train station. The streets were slick with rain, neon signs reflected in puddles that seemed deeper than they were. She clutched her silk dress, worried it might catch in the wet cobblestones, worried about the world, worried about strangers. But he matched her pace, not pushing, not overbearing, just quietly ensuring that every step brought her closer to safety. In that shared silence, she began to sense a strange comfort, a kind of protection she hadn't realized she'd been craving. They passed a homeless man on the corner, and she flinched, the past's shadows brushing her memory. But he kept her steady, whispering encouragements, grounding her with gentle presence. And in these small acts, the subtle hand on her elbow, the steady gaze that met hers without expectation, she began to feel something she had almost forgotten, the fragile, trembling possibility of trust. Hours passed as if minutes, and slowly he brought her to the doorway of her apartment. Her hand trembled as she inserted the key, the silk of her dress brushing the edge of the frame. He lingered a moment longer than necessary, ensuring that the space inside was welcoming, safe, and calm. Finally, with a nod, he stepped back, allowing her to reclaim her solitude while knowing she wasn't truly alone. The night had been long, fraught with quiet tension and invisible threats, yet through it all a bond had formed. Not romantic, not yet, but something equally profound, a shared understanding that sometimes the kindness of a stranger could illuminate a path through the darkest moments of life. She stood at the threshold, looking back, her eyes reflecting gratitude, awe, and an emotion she couldn't yet name. The silk dress, once just a garment, now symbolized resilience, survival, and the night she was cared for when the world had seemed indifferent. He gave her one last reassuring smile, a quiet acknowledgement that she was stronger than she realized, and that sometimes people appear at exactly the right moment. Weeks later, she would remember the train, the rain, the flickering lights, and the man who had silently guided her through fear into safety. She would recount the small gestures, the unwavering calm, the profound sense that she mattered. And she would share it, perhaps, in whispers of gratitude, or in moments of reflection when life's noise subsided. The world could still be cruel, chaotic, and lonely, but kindness, once offered, had the power to create ripples that lasted far longer than the moment itself. Before we end, if this story touched your heart, please leave a comment to let us know how it moved you. Your words could inspire someone else today. The city outside carried on, indifferent to the lives it swept along. But inside, the echoes of a single night lingered, a night of vulnerability, trust, and the quiet heroism of a stranger who made sure that a woman in a silk dress reached home safe. And perhaps in those small acts of unseen courage we find the truest forms of love. Not loud, not demanding, but steadfast, enduring, and quietly transformative. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment to honor the beauty of human kindness, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of compassion.